This is Alaska's wild north, one of the world's last true wilderness frontiers, a land of extremes and of the midnight sun. 365 million acres of jaw-dropping beauty that will leave you speechless. I am absolutely lost for words. This place is incredible. Not ever seen a place as beautiful as this. Half of the world's last remaining glaciers can be found here, amongst the tallest peaks in North America. With 34,000 miles of tidal shoreline, there's more coastline to explore than all of the other U.S. states combined. But with daily tidal floods of more than 35 feet, some of the largest in the world, navigating a ship here is not for the faint of heart. Navigating the minefield of ice.
Just take it nice and easy and work our way out.
We invite you to join us on a journey half a decade in the making, a voyage to the last frontier, sailing north to Alaska. Exciting. Excited to move back on board. We're finally moving back onto our floating home, having spent the last few months sawing, wrenching, and ripping apart our boat before putting it all back together again, in preparation for what will be our biggest adventure yet. With everything we could possibly need for the foreseeable future tucked away in every nook and cranny aboard our modest 30-foot sailboat, we are finally ready to untie the lines and say goodbye to this small island community that's become our home.
Bye guys. Have a good summer.
Leaving this remote island in the Broughton Archipelago behind, raising the sails and pointing Uinta's bow to the north.
Woo! We're finally off the dock.
We're off the dock.
Man, it's been months in the freaking making, eh?
It is the end of May. We had planned to leave like a month ago. One delay after another, as it goes with these things. And we were so excited this morning to be off the dock. Weather-wise, it's not the best day, but we are in the Pacific Northwest, and so you can expect rain in May. This is what you're looking at.
And with the rain comes southeasterlies and southwesterlies, and that means we can sail downwind while going north, which is a perfect time to be leaving the dock. So it might be raining, but it is sunny in our hearts because we are heading in the right direction for once.
Yeah! It's been 35 knot northerlies for days, and we weren't too keen in leaving in that, mostly because we had to do a proper shakedown first, and it's the first time using the tiller, it's the first time with the new sails, and so we were waiting for a little bit nicer conditions to get out, and that's what we have today. Bit of rain, but we've got a southerly puffing us north gently downwind, and it's pretty good.
I love it.
This is the start of a 2,000 nautical mile journey circumnavigating the Pacific Northwest from Canada to Southeast Alaska and back, a goal we've been working towards for nearly half a decade. And with so many upgrades, including new electrical system, nav instruments, steering, and sails, it feels like we're piloting a brand new boat. So this is a proper shakedown cruise.
The tiller's taking some getting used to.
It sure is. Counterintuitive, but I've also forgotten how to sail. It's all good though. We're making good progress.
Things need to be in top working order because the next 24 hours of our trip will find us sailing out into the open Pacific, rounding the most notorious cape of the entire inside passage route. And so far, things were going well, until they weren't.
So things just got a little spicy there for a sec.
Yep, we've already broken our first thing, which is our electrical system. Broke it with fire, which is always fun. We were packing the fenders into the lazarette, and I guess we shorted a wire somewhere, and that wire then caught on fire. So,
yeah. Did you see a flame, or was it just smoking?
Yeah, there was definitely a flame. There was a whole flame of wire on fire.
I just saw the smoke. I was actually down the companionway and was trying to get a shot of James putting the fenders in the lazarette, and he opened the lazarette and smoke came billowing out.
It doesn't take long, guys. It does not take long for an electrical fire. It's like instantaneous.
Yeah.
Oh, and now we're sailing down to Port McNeill, downwind. We'll go get ourselves on the dock, or we'll drop the anchor or something, and we can assess what exactly happened.
We can laugh now because we just had a little debrief and a little like, whew, we stayed calm. Didn't need to use a fire extinguisher, but
We didn't freak out too much. Now we get to go work out what exactly happened and what went wrong and how we can avoid doing that in the future.
that's what shakedown cruises are for. You do your best to be diligent and check over everything, but that was a moment for sure.
Yeah, spicy, very spicy and sooty and smelly.
It's a bit frustrating, trying to keep in good spirits here, but
Super frustrating.
it means we'll be doing wiring for the
We
next
might
day.
not even be able to start the engine.
Yeah. So we'll see if we can anchor under sail, I guess.
Yeah.
Shit. We are now approaching Port McNeill and we are just reducing some head sail so that we can slow our approach.
We're gonna come in, we're going dead downwind. Basically, we're gonna make the head sail really, really, really tiny just so that it's catching as little air as possible. We'll turn the boat straight up into the wind. That little handkerchief will flap a little bit. The boat will stall out, trying to go back upwind. Drop the hook and then let the boat be blown onto anchor. This day is nice and big, fairly level, good holding. So we should be able to do it without too much stress. Hopefully. So we're going to get set up. We're going to reduce the sail a little bit further because it's a little bit windier down here than it was back up there. And we're going to give it a shot. We're going to go into 30 feet depth, okay? It's a little nerve-wracking anchoring a boat under sail with a lee shore and being blown onto the shore. So yeah, a little nervous. But we've anchored here before. There's no other boats in the bay, and the bay is absolutely huge. And it's like pretty well flat, 10 meter, 30 feet, mud bottom, really good sticking. So I think it should absolutely be fine. It's really not even windy. It's maybe like 15 knots of wind at the moment. There's no sea state. It's pretty calm. So I think it should all work fine. I'm gonna turn to port and bring us up into the wind in just a moment. Okay?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Coming about. Into the wind. Watch your head on the sail. Okay, start putting it out.
Now?
Okay.
We hit bottom. Okay, 120.
Okay, just let the boat settle. We're gonna be pitching a little bit, but it's gonna be okay. Does that feel like we dug?
She's set. Yeah.
Well, do you want to let us out on a bit more road then? If we're in 30, then I'd put us out at least 180. Now that we're here on anchor in Port McNeill, and the boat's not going anywhere now, which is perfect, so that feels safer.
The anchor seems to have held.
Anxiety is feeling lessened. And now we can look into what the hell caught on fire in here.
Shit.
Let's say these wires and this metal tube made contact. Wow. We're gonna have to replace some wiring.
Yeah.
We're just gonna disconnect the electricity to the engine controls. That way we can turn our AC, our DC electricity back on for the rest of the boat, and we can, make some coffee and heat up some food. We can eat, we can have a coffee, and then we can dig into what else is going on here and why our electrical panel caught on fire. But first of all, let's disconnect the electrical panel, and then we can work out what's going on. Alright, so We had some lunch, we had a cup of coffee, and now I can think a hell of a lot better because I got glucose going into my brain. And that's good because we're just sitting here in Port McNeill. The ferry just came in over there, so the boat's rocking a little bit from the wake, but apart from that, the wind has died down and it's raining now, so no more really getting blown around. We're just chilling on anchor and everything's safe and sound, which means that we can get stuck into working out exactly what is going on down here. So these two wires were the main wires that melted down on us. They actually are the positive and the negative for the engine hour control. And I guess I hadn't put them back together since we were trying to get off the dock and we were throwing the stuff back in the lazarette. And I guess the fenders moved and it pushed the positive and the negative together and completely fried these wires out and caught a fire, which is kind of all my fault really. I should be more careful with these things and I should make sure that I really am safe with my electrical stuff, which generally speaking we are. I think we're just trying to rush around this morning, and that's what happens when you're trying to get off the dock and you're rushing around. You make mistakes, so you know, it's always important to do your pre-flight departure checks.
Jeez.
So we're just going to strip the wires back that are clearly screwed up and damaged. Just a light bit of damage, not too much damage. We were able to put the fire out really quickly, so it didn't really scorch the rest of the electronics too much. We're just going to clean it up with some wipes, make sure, inspect all the insulation, make sure it's all really secure and intact. And then we're going to just basically replace the ones that look bad. And we'll test it, and hopefully that will just fix all the problems. So, without further ado, I'm going into my little cave. And you guys can enjoy this in the magic of YouTube world where it just happens. While I sit here for a few hours and deal with it. So, see you in a bit.
And another thing, we did the best we could. Don't know about you, but that must be good. And you can turn the sun away, wrap the moon night. If we can do what we do best, we're nocturnal lives. Oh, and you can take your radio friends on the magic ride. Yeah, we can do what we must do to keep the dream alive.
Okay, so we're finished rewiring back the engine controls. We've replaced all the wiring back there. We did a bit of testing with the continuity, and I have a feeling that the ignition switch might have blown because there's a lot more continuity in it than I would otherwise expect. But just to double check, we're going to reconnect the power to the ignition panel, and we're going to see if we can start the engine. Well, it's great news. The engine turns back on, which is a big relief. The ignition switch seems to be working correctly. I would definitely feel better if we had a spare for it, but it's turning the engine on and off, which is good. There's just the continuity looks a little funny and it's a little intermittent, so maybe it is a little fried on the inside. It would be prudent of us to probably change it, I would say. But yeah, it's working again, so that's great news. And that's the main thing, is that we haven't tremendously damaged the boat. We've replaced a couple of wires that were broken, that burnt out. I only had to replace 4 little wires, so that was fairly straightforward. And it's nice and calm down here in Port McNeill. It's raining, the sun's kind of coming out. But yeah, now we get to go and install a breaker or a fuse somewhere that should hopefully prevent this meltdown from ever occurring again. So we're just going through my electrical box here on the boat. Pretty limited to what we have, but I do have a spare fuse holder and I have some 10 amp fuses. So we're going to put this in the main positive power feed to the ignition panel just to give it a little bit of protection, and that way we should avoid any burnouts in the electrical panel again. I also have a 50 amp breaker which is spare, so we might throw that in somewhere as well between the battery and the main breaker panel. That way it should protect everything in the breakers as well, which is a little redundant because the breakers are already protecting everything downstream from there. So yeah, I guess we'll see if we do that or not. But we'll definitely put this in the ignition line, and that way that will protect everything from the power of the lithium batteries. Just finished up putting some fuses and some breakers in. I put a 50 amp breaker in the main DC feed to the breaker panel. So basically from the main bus bar, it now runs through 50 amps to reduce the current to the rest of the boat. So therefore, I don't think we should have any further troubles with things melting down. I also put a 30 amp fuse in line between the positive power to the instrument panel, so now that all the power running back to the instrument panel is current limited to 30 amps. So if we have any more surges down there from weird things going on, then those should pop, and that way we protect all of our wiring, which is very important because fuses don't actually protect devices, fuses protect wires. That's the point. You put them between the closest point to the power source and the size of the gauge of the wire that you want to protect. Your fuse should be smaller than the max amperage rating for that piece of wire, because if the wire is thinner than the fuse, then the wire will burn up before the fuse burns up, which is exactly what happened in the back there. So a little confusing, but fuses saves wiring, and wiring is expensive because copper costs money. But yeah, we're now nice and safe, so I think we can haul up the hook and continue underway in the rain and no wind, so I guess we're motoring. We just can't stay here in Port McNeill because you know you're in Port McNeill when you can hear the sound of chainsaws. It's just one of those places that happens. And there's a lot of wake because we're anchored right next to the ferry terminal. The marina is also right there, so boats are coming in and out, and we're just rolling around here. So we're going to get out, head around the pass between Malcolm Island and Port McNeill, and we'll go see if there's any wind out in the sound. If not, we'll just probably start heading across to Blunden, and we can stage ourselves to get around caution.
Mud holding. That's what you want when you're anchoring under sail.
We're just motor sailing out between Malcolm Island and the point here in Port McNeill. We are completely in the wrong part of the tides right now in order to get out here, but we're going to try to buck it. We've got a bit of wind behind us, and we just got to push through this little bit of current and we can get out into the strait, and the wind is meant to fill in on the backside of Malcolm. So once we get out there, it should be good sailing in about 15 knots. Just got to push through this little bit first, which could be a little slow. We're doing about 3.5 knots. We can motor a little bit faster. But we got the full canvas up, helping us out, stabilizing the boat. We'll just get out here and we'll see how we go, and we'll just play it by ear, really. See what the conditions are like. Be prepared for the unexpected. Sea otter. There isn't as much wind out here as we anticipated. It's pretty rainy. So we're just putting the autopilot in for the first time and seeing if we can hold a heading. We're going to head over to Blunden Hbr, which is about 15 nautical miles, so that'll be the rest of our afternoon. And it'll be nice because we can huddle in under the Dodger and not get as wet as we would being out here at our old wheel hand steering. I think that's freaking amazing. Hallelujah. That's sweet. Just
And
off
my-
my zipper.
And my hair and my zipper.
I already cracked mine, so we can't crack them together.
You're like half finished.
Oh, I'm half started.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
It feels so good to be back on anchor, out here in the wild. It's beautiful here. It's quiet. I heard a loon.
We're here in Blunden Hbr, which always feels like such a spiritual place to come to. There's just something about this bay that could just be the collective human memory of like countless generations. But it just is such a peaceful place to come and visit. It's got nice good mud holding. Drop the hook in about 25 feet of water, protected from all directions, no swell, completely flat. That was a pretty eventful shakedown. It's all nice now and safe, and there's only 2 or 3 wires that we had to replace, so it really wasn't too bad. No damage done. It was a fun little exercise to sail onto anchor, which we haven't done in quite some time, so nice to have some of that emergency preparedness kind of skills in action. We're quickly into the what do we got to do, let's not freak out, let's like calm, collectedly and coolly kind of work through our problem. So yeah, the electrical fire, we got through that. We almost forgot the toothbrush at home, which is terrible.
And my rain jacket. Remember last season, James forgot his rain jacket when we set out? I almost did that today. Super hypocrite.
Crisis averted though. We ducked back and picked it up really quick. The autopilot, lovely autopilot. We still need to learn how to use it a little bit better. But honestly, it feels like we're learning how to use a new boat. Like all the systems, all the upgrades we've done. We've just been working flat out on the boat for so long that we haven't actually really tested anything that we've put in it yet.
No.
We know that it all switches on and works. We just don't know how to use it.
Literally every system on the boat is new, from our propane, sails, auto helm, diesel stove, and even our camera gear. So literally every single thing that we're using on this boat, we've not had an opportunity to use. So today was certainly a shakedown of all of those things.
Give them a good test run, beating the boat up a little bit, not too hard, but gently. But making sure that everything's going to work for us. We're going to tuck her in, make a nice little bone broth noodle soup kind of thing for dinner.
Yeah, I canned some beef and bone broth before we took off. We just cracked some into a pot with some veggies and some ramen noodles, and we're gonna have a nice warm bowl of ramen.
We got the diesel stove lit, so that's going to start warming up the boat here pretty shortly.
Super stoked on that.
Yeah.
It's warm in here.
All in all, Al, I think we're winning.
Yay. Well, cheers.
Yeah, cheers to you guys, and cheers to the adventure to Alaska.
So glad we survived this one, folks. Thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Really helps us out if you subscribe, and our stats show that 60% of you have not pressed that button. So please do that. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Good night. That's so good. I shouldn't talk with my mouth full, but damn. That's the best noodle soup I've ever had. Holy hell. Canned beef and broth, man. That's what dreams are made of.